Hey guys, so I just wanted to come in here and just give you your weekly word of encouragement. Sometimes in life it can feel like people are just against us. Everywhere from the city square to people being canceled on YouTube or Facebook or wherever it is. Pastors being ridiculed for their views on certain things, or maybe it's in the workplace. Maybe you hold a certain set of views that most people might not agree with, and maybe they're even jealous. So I want to come to you today and talk to you about, again, Saul and David's relationship. And I just want to read you an excerpt, not the whole thing, but I just want to come in here and give you just a bit of encouragement. So David has been welcomed into Saul's kingdom. He is now hanging out around the royal family, and guess what? Saul's jealous, and he pulls David in as an enemy to keep him closer. And David, all of a sudden, he wants to marry one of Saul's daughters. And he attempts to marry the first daughter. The first daughter is already betrothed. And so Michal, Saul's younger daughter, David actually has the opportunity to marry. And Saul uses this as an opportunity to put him in front of the Philistines. And this is one of my favorite stories of the Bible because it's so funny to me. So Saul asks for 100 foreskins from the Philistines. You don't hear this message in Sunday school, right? And so David agrees, instead of having Saul, or instead of having to pay a bride price, he says, okay, listen, I will go get your 100 Philistine foreskins. And so instead of just going and getting 100 Philistine foreskins, he actually goes and gets 200. David's a little overzealous. And this is the part that I really want to hone in on. David arose and went along with his men and killed 200 of the Philistines. And David brought their foreskins, which were given in full number, to the king, that he might become the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him his daughter Michal for a wife. But when Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal's, Saul's daughter, loved him, Saul was even more afraid of David. So Saul was David's enemy continually. I wonder if we feel like that sometimes. We go into work and our boss is our enemy continually. Do we go into life asking God, like, man, why is everyone always against me? Everything is always against me continually. You see, later in the book of 1 Samuel, we're going to see David have an opportunity to kill Saul, but he will not lay his hand on the Lord's anointed. And we see that attitude of forgiveness, of graciousness for those people who are persecuting us. This also reminds me of what happens in Matthew chapter 5. Jesus is beginning his Beatitudes, and then he begins to tell them, and he says, "Blessed are you when you are persecuted, and when people call you all sorts of evil things for my name's sake." They did the same thing to the prophets before you. Do we count ourselves blessed when people say all sorts of evil things? I can honestly say it. There's definitely times in my life I don't count myself blessed. I say, Lord, take me out of this suffering. Why am I enduring this suffering? I'm reminded again of that picture of the cross. Jesus is hanging on the cross. And he says, Father, forgive them, because they don't know what they're doing. You know, Paul talks about this in 1 Corinthians, I believe. And he's talking about the relationship between the church and between the outside world, those who are not saved. And he tells the Corinthians, hey, you shouldn't treat them like believers. And I wonder if, especially here nowadays, we've got our perspective wrong. Do we have our kingdom priorities in line? Are we treating those who don't know Christ as enemies, or as the mission field? Because if I take the attitude of Christ, I'm going to tell that sinner Peter, hey man, put down your net, come follow me. I'm going to tell that sinner Matthew, the tax collector, the worst of all Jews, hey man, put down the money, come follow me. I wonder if we have the same attitude. I can say honestly, there are times when I don't have that same attitude. And I wonder, when people come to our churches or when they're introduced to us, like, do they see the love of Christ? Do they see our love for one another? And do they see our love for them? Hey guys, I just want to tell you that Christ loves you, that His grace is sufficient, and that we have a mission. Let's go love our neighbors as ourselves. Let's go love our children, even when they're the worst, as ourselves. Let's go love our wives, even when, man, they make us frustrated, as ourselves. And let's be the men of devotion we're called to be. This is your weekly dose of encouragement. Have a good week, guys.